And start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Any additions, corrections? And in order to document who's here, we'll take a roll call vote to approve the minutes. We don't need a motion, but we have a motion and a second. May we have a motion and a second, please?
I'll make a motion, George. Kevin Bryce.
Kevin.
David Wright, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And if there are no additions or corrections, can we commence the roll call?
Sure. Just one moment. Jim Tunn. John Derwinski. George Topple.
Present.
Thank you. Bill Emerson.
For one moment, John Derwinski is on. John, you're muted.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and count him then. If he can send a message.
He did unmute. John, if you could unmute and say, cast your vote for the minutes. He's unmuted. I'm not sure why we can't hear him.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to
Sorry to
continue.
interrupt.
No, thank you. It's fine. I think Bill Emerson. Gerald Sweats. Robert Forrester. And Eman, is it okay if I go down the list of attendees as well?
Whoever is here, I think
Okay.
some people are not here.
All right. Let's see. Nick Beck.
Yes.
Thank you. Richard Morrisroe.
Yes.
Thank you. David Wright.
Yes.
Thank you. Deb Backus.
James, I wasn't present for the meeting.
Douglas Powers.
Yes.
Thank you. Joe Exel.
Yes.
Thank you. Christina Kuzma.
Yes.
Thank you. Wendy Burbridge.
Yes.
Thank you. And Nick Beller. Nick Beller.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes roll call.
Okay, and I vote yes on the minutes as well, so the minutes are approved. Moving on to the,
George, if I may. It's Kevin Brightsky. I'm also here.
I think we got.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Candace. Okay.
We do have him, and Flora is supporting this meeting, George, just as an FYI. Thank you.
Say again, Candace.
I said, yes, we do have Kevin Britsky. Thank you. And just to let you know, Flora will be supporting this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Flor, are you, let's see, I'm trying to find you on here. Okay, moving right along. We have the minutes approved for the last meeting, and we'll move on to the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, Land Use and Housing by Eman.
Thank you, George. You may know that we are in the process of starting the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and we already released RFP for 4 elements of the plan: trails, land use, transit, and also freight. And we may very soon also release an RFP for transportation element. However, transportation is covered in all the other 4 elements, but we might need some focus on transportation. So we received applications. We are in the process now to get the consultant selected and start very soon, middle of March or April 1st. That's the plan, to start with the consultant. So today I'm going through what we are planning to do with the land use element and what's different from the last 2050 plan. And we have like certain focus area that we are planning to focus on. And I'm gonna share my screen here. Okay, just a second. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, okay. So as we starting here is what was covered in the Northwest Indiana 2050 plan that was adopted in 2019. And the new plan, the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, is actually the deadline in May, by the end of 2023. So that's giving us sometimes almost a year and a couple of months to finish the plan. So in the 2050 plan, we had a number of analyses and different alternatives, but by the end of the plan, we came up with the main recommendations. I picked the one here that is related more to land use. So the first one was to plan for smart land use and quality of places. And in the next slides, I will go through the specific strategies that we already implemented some of them, but some other agencies or local government should take care of. The next one was also planned for e-commerce landscape, and we really took a great step on this project. We completed a study that was adopted in 2019, and also we are in the process to have like a sub-area plan. Scott Weber will talk about this sub-area plan later in the agenda. And also, we had a recommendation to plan for main centers and transit-oriented development. We took like a great step also in this one. Plan for asset vulnerability from climate change, and also we are working with the DNR, and Jennifer is going to present the effort that we are trying to do with the DNR and coastal program. And then we also have a recommendation to plan for green infrastructure and open spaces. And Kathy is working with the communities in different things and updating also the green infrastructure within the region. For the new plan now, so we try to focus in certain area. The first one is to plan for the needed infrastructure. So we have already resources, we have built up communities, and we wanted just to improve accessibility within this area. So we would like to support walking, bicycling, and of course the transit of historic downtowns, and all the retail corridors, with conductive development patterns for non-motorized. That will be a main focus in this part of the land use element. Also, we would like to identify regional approaches to address any shared responsibilities or economic development or social resiliency, the challenges, the preparedness. Also, we will look at shared environmental protection and restoration. Workforce development, it's very important to have the right workforce development to attract businesses to the area. So we'll focus in this one to housing markets. We will have a housing analysis, and I will talk in the last slides about the IIJA and how we have an emphasis now on housing. Also, we will looking to identify a key corridors, including state highways and other arterials, that could be reimagined to enhance the livability of our communities. Consider the transit-oriented development plan that is happening now by NICTI and the RDA, and how these plans specifically will fit with the regional transportation goal and also the land use planning at NIRPC. Plan for the 15-minute cities. I'm showing a graph here on the left showing the 15-minute city, which is how people can walk and have livability and have activities and like walking within a mile in the center of the city. We are doing, Thomas, our director, with Peter, are doing some analysis regarding the 15-minute cities, and that's something we will be looking for also with the land use element. And then identify key places and key corridors that need to be examined in more details, and that's like to focus our resources, and when also set the transportation funding will be giving a priority for these key places and the corridors. And we might need, after the finishing and completing the plan, is like to have like a recommendation of other studies of these key places and corridors. The next one here. So that's the main thing that we are doing in the next MTP plan. I'm showing here a map from the 2050 plan, which is showing the light blue area, showing the people that moved from the urban center to suburban or rural area. However, when I compare this map to the map we had in the 2040 plan, which was up to 2000, this one is 2006, and we also have 2011. We had like more scattered new development within the county. I don't see that much in 2011, and I'm sure with the update of the 2020 census, we will have even much better pictures about the region and how we are growing. We still see a significant scattered area between Michigan City and City of LaPorte, and also between here, Chesterton and Valparaiso. Of course, all of the Lake County, it's older communities, most of the growth going in San John and also around Crown Point area and Winfield. So, but if we continue doing that, you know, like this is impacting the infrastructure, it will be the inefficient land use will impact the pattern and make it more expensive for us to have like more investment going for transportation. Here in the next one, I'm talking about the project that we completed on for the 2050 plan implementation. And the first one was planned for a smart land use and quality of places. We have number of strategies here and initiatives. I don't want to read all of that. We can check on that on the 2050 plan, but like we are, some of the stuff that we really did not make any advancement is the stuff that has to be done by the local governments, which I'm encouraging everyone again to keep reading that when they like modify any land use or a comprehensive plan. But the one we did here is establish a special zoning for historic district and national and registered buildings. I see some communities already start doing some work on that. The next one, incorporate policies and strategies in transportation funding to support main centers and revitalization. And we, with the NOFA, the last two NOFA, we give like more points if the application or the development going within these specific area. And then the last one is to plan for, to repurpose all the big boxes and large surface parking. We did the e-commerce study. We had a number of recommendations to improve this area. So we did our part from the regional perspective, but also it's up to the local governments to start working in these type of strategies. The next one is still, we are in smart land use and quality of places. The next one here that we did some work for is promote importance of natural area protection, connectivity and accessibility with local government and agencies to encourage local implementation. And we also have relayed that to the funding. We give like more points for this type of protection. Also encourage the adoption of ordinances that support proper operation and maintenance of septic system to reduce water pollutions. Joe is here. I know he moved to the coastal program, but he did a great job doing work with the septic system when he was working with NIRPC. For mobility, we actually had like a great achievements here. For the first one, establish minimum design standards for consistent trail development and at local and regional level, and Mitch is working on that, especially with the signage. Mandate all new federally aid trail project to use minimum standards. We are also have the Unified Trail Wayfinding Guide. Work with local entities to develop a local ordinance that require new trails and connections. So we have the complete street and now is a living streets policy. We completed that like almost a year and a half ago. Also, we encourage municipalities to update land use regulations to include pedestrian connectivity. We continue doing that, update the Sensible Tools handbook. We already completed the draft of this book. It's gonna be released very soon, and also looking at the universal designs, and that's something we always working on. So the next one is plan e-commerce landscape. Of course, we achieved 3 of the strategies here. Forecast demand for future land development, and we have a high priority map for this area to accommodate e-commerce. We also to create plans and programs and also to look at the logistics system that was completed in the e-commerce study to accommodate trending technologies, adopt local land use, for example, the impact from online shopping and decrease the need for commercial, that was also covered within the study. So, which is great, you know, like in like the last 2 or 3 years, we did some good implementation of the strategies that came out of the Northwest Indiana 2050 plan. We have here as good achievements in the last year. The first one here on the left, that is the new Amazon facility in Valparaiso, and that's in actually east of 149 at Memorial Parkway. They have like a state-of-the-art building coming here in Valparaiso. We have also on the bottom another Amazon delivery station, and that's in at the Ameriplex Business Park in Maryville. Just to give you an idea, in the priority potential location map, all of these new facilities actually is located within the area that we recommended as part of our analysis of the e-commerce best locations. We also have like one here, and Douglas, you can confirm that. They have here now a rendering showing a facility coming in East Chicago, and that's it's a close to it's a 4.2 mile from I-80 and 94, and that's, I think it's the northwest of Roxana area. Is that right, Douglas?
So it's north of Roxana. You
No,
know,
north of
Roxana is at the very western side of the city. So this
Okay.
is, you know, right up at the edge of the west side of East Chicago.
Okay, and what's the status of that? Did you approve it?
So this has been approved. The development plans were approved. It's a speculative construction. So they haven't, you know, finalized the contract with the end user as of yet. So that's currently the process. They have been in the process of pulling permits. So it is moving forward.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is like, we are glad to see that this is this activity that supported the e-commerce and the manufacturers coming within the region. And I was reading an article at the Indiana Business, and they were talking about that everyone now is looking at Northwest Indiana because we have like low taxes. And I heard from Karen with the Lake County Alliance that she's receiving like 7 calls every week, at least for people asking about location in Northwest Indiana. And this is like great news to hear that. So the next one was a plan for main centers and transit-oriented development that came as major recommendation also within the area. And we have some of them are achieved in the last 2 years. First one, coordinate between local governments and funding agencies to prioritize investment in existing centers. We already have that, and we are promoting development within major centers and downtown area and close to transit. And that's also reflected on the funding criteria. The next one, continue to prioritize transportation funding in older communities and livable centers. I just mentioned that. The number 3 is plan to improve campus area and turn them to great places. So we have the TOD study that we're doing now. It's actually for a funding coming here at NIRPC, and it will be happening with the next NOFA. And specifically with campus area, we have also one of the proposed TOD area is around IUN, and that's a major TOD area coming in Broadway and IUN. And we hope to have like a good plan in the future for this area to have like more livability and better connectivity and also increased density around the university. So these are some of the highlight here about all the project that we did. This is showing here, that was a chart coming from the 2050 plan, showing how we are near to transit surface. I'm not gonna go over that. Of course, we see the demand response buses, which is a very high in every category for area has 65 people or up, or with disability, lower income, or the whole Northwest Indiana residents, because the demand response cover most of the area and is not like a fixed route. And of course, we can see that very high. But the focus will be here, especially when we look at the 13% of residents live close to train station, the South Shore stations, and in this analysis, that was before the confirmation of the West Lake Corridor. So when we calculated the number of people in proximity to train stations within the whole region, it's only 13%. So that's why the TOD plans that they are doing for all the station now, NICTI and the RDA, with our funding too, will support like to have like a better development and higher density within this area. Because really these are the area that need like more people. We have for the bus services, it's still 47% in the whole region, but also we would like to expand more our bus system. So the higher the density, the better and more efficient is the community and the region. So that's one of the areas that really, hopefully with the new TOD plans and the implementation of that will increase this type of density. Here I'm showing some of the efforts happening. So this is a map showing the TDD area and all the station now that we have 13 stations, the NICTI and RDA doing transit-oriented development for. This is a map showing an example of the TDD in Munster, Ridge Road area. And the second effort that we're doing, of course, here at NIRPC, the TOD program. And here is the Valparaiso Transit-Oriented Development Master Plan that American Structure Point completed for the city of Valpo, and they are going forward to start the implementation of this TOD plan. And this is specifically around downtown area and the Chicago Dash and V line at Brown Street. The other one here is to plan for economic development, and some of these elements also related to land use. So first strategies here: improve downtown and main center to anchor business and enhance local communities. And we would like the local government to continue doing that. I know some of them, they already working to improve these areas. So I can't put a check mark because not every community is doing that. But it will be highlighted later once they have a plan or a pre-development plan. Develop and expand warehouses, floor space, distribution centers. That was recommended in the e-commerce study. Create a parcel-based map of current and potential business location. That help identify economic centers, also was covered in e-commerce. Work with the Northwest Indiana Forum and local government to meet the local and regional needs. And we already doing great work with the Northwest Indiana Forum and other economic development agencies. The last one here, we also continue to support the Northwest Indiana Food Council and Farm Hub, and we had Gabrielle Bicunas did a great job with the Farm Hub and also with the Food System Council, and hopefully NERPC will continue to participate in these efforts. Also work with the intermodal facilities and freight carriers to identify location with high level of freight movements. And we have, of course, the program, the funding program, the urban freight. I think, anybody remember the name? I'm sorry. Scott? What was the program that Peter working with?
Is that the critical urban freight corridor?
Yeah. Yes, yeah, critical. And we already have funding specifically going for that. Thank you. The next one is also, we wanted to highlight the housing, which is we're gonna really work and doing some work here on the housing, affordable housing, and the intensity of housing within the urban area. And this map was showing the vacancy within the region, the dark blue, or if it's showing in your screen, dark green, the darker color showing the high vacancy within the area. And this is one of the area that like we need to focus on. Instead of just going scattered within the region. I think we'll have like more attention to housing in the new MTP plan. Here I'm showing here first, before talking about the IIJA, and it's an acronym for Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. IIJA. Here I'm showing on the right, you know, like the kind of tools for local housing affordability by state. So if they have inclusionary housing, rent control, vouchers as a source of income, city housing trust funds, state tax incentives. And I'm having here the red arrow here showing Indiana. So Indiana only has city housing trust funds. So, and in comparison to other, like to other states here, we don't have enough tools really to help with the housing affordability. And this is something like maybe, you know, like we can have recommendation for that, and, you know, from the local to the state level to have like more tools here to help with and we can see the best practices and what other states, you know, like have most of the tools within their states. So this is like, I think we are missing some tools in Indiana in general, and that was highlighted also in the Sensible Tools Handbook. This charts, I had it from the Sensible Tools Handbook. So for the IIJA here, the new bill now for the MPO, we are required to consult with the officials responsible for housings and adds housing to the scope of the planning with the MPO. And also, especially if we have, they encourage MPO that do scenario development to include housing. So they are, one of the things that they are put an emphasis is to assume distribution of population and housing as a component of the MTP plan, includes affordable housing organization as interested parties within the MPO that should have an opportunity to comment on our transportation plan. That's new for us. And also the policy include, the bill includes a number of policies changes to coordinate transportation planning with housing. And that's include the planning factor in the scope of planning. Of course, I mentioned the scenario planning, but also develop a housing coordination plan for the TMA area. I think that's transportation management. I'm not good with acronyms.
Transportation Management Agency.
Agencies. The transportation planning process, and we may address also the integration of housing with the transportation and economic development. Identify the location of existing and planned housing and employment and transportation options, and connect housing and employment. So these are some of the new policies that is recommended for the MPO like us, and we will have that reflected on the MTP that will be adopted into 2023. So we are looking to different agencies that have great tools for affordable housing. One of them is housingpolicy.org. They have a number of tools. I'm showing an example here of some of the tools. And of course, when you go to this website, you can click in any of these recommendations, and you will get a lot of details and good recommendations for affordable housing. So this, like, if we already have like great policies, this will be considered with the new MTP. So that's conclude my presentation to give you an update of what we are planning to start working right away. We already collecting data, have it ready for the consultant, and we will start very soon. And we also will, of course, review everything with the land use committee, but we may also ask for a specific group if somebody or someone would like to volunteer to work on the task force or focus group for that 2050 plan or the MTP. Any questions?
So sure, I have a question. So when we're looking at like the, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so when we're looking at like the vacant housing, is that looking at, you know, just the housing, taking land use and things into consideration as well? Or was that looking at just general vacancies, you know, throughout?
We're looking for general vacancies because we're doing that from the regional perspective. So we wanted to see concentration of vacant areas, you know, we could have some vacancies in some neighborhood, but it's not as significant and maybe the normal number of vacancies. But like if we have a certain area has, you know, like a cluster of vacancies, you know, like this is like one of the areas that need attention, and we will work with the local government in that. And we are getting that from the census data, and also we get that from the HUD. They have the postal service, USPS. They are working with HUD, and they report all of the vacant addresses in the last 12 months. in the last 3 years, and we get this data in GIS, and we can get an actual vacancy based on USPS report. So, and also I would like if the communities have like a better data than we have, and if they can provide it to us, that will be great for the new plan.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you, Iman. And I'd be happy to volunteer for that task force. If there are any others interested, please let Iman know.
Yes, please email me.
Okay, next item on the agenda is also Iman. The update on the current, or is that included in the Metropolitan overview?
No, it's I have here. Yeah, I have.
DNR
We have a number of projects here that we are working on at NERC, and either it's coming or to give an update about the TOD plan or study that we're doing. The draft is completed. I got like a feedback from a number of communities. I did some modifications. And once we have that ready and reviewed, it will be released for a public review, and then we'll present it to the commission for adoption. Same for the Sensible Tools Handbook. But we have like two studies. Jennifer is going to talk about a study that we are going to work on. And of course, Joe, you're here also to talk about that. And we have Scott also will give an update about the RFP for the e-commerce project in City of Gary.
Okay, thank you, Iman. Jennifer, I think you're next up with the
Yes.
DNR Coastal Resiliency Project. Take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yes, just a quick informal update here. Wanted to make everyone aware of a new project that we are anticipating entering into an agreement with Indiana DNR Lake Michigan Coastal Program, which we do have Joe here. So Joe, I would encourage you as I'm talking, if you want to chime in with anything, feel free to. So the coastal program has one of their big priorities is to look at coastal hazards and coastal resiliency. And so we are working with them to develop an agreement so that a team from NERC would assist them in that work, particularly in developing a Northwest Indiana specific coastal resiliency self-assessment tool. So the working team, so Lake Michigan Coastal Program is looking to convene a working group centered around coastal resiliency. NERC staff would participate in that group, of course. And then more specifically, working to begin by kind of gathering background data and information that pertains to coastal resiliency that may be relevant to our communities. And then taking a look at, there are some really good existing tools that other states have developed. There is a they call them, various titles, but basically self-assessment tools developed by Maryland, by Michigan, and by Wisconsin. So taking a look at those as kind of a starting point, refining the scope a bit. Some of those tools are, really long and seem like they would be cumbersome for our communities to complete. So kind of teasing out the most relevant sections to Northwest Indiana. I think specifically coastal program is concerned with coastal, resiliency itself, as well as kind of the more environmental parameters, whereas some of the other tools may have things like economics and social parameters as well. So working together, the project team, I think at NERC will be Kathy, myself, Iman as the land use planner, with also some support from Candace. Developing that tool, and then once it is developed and specific to Northwest Indiana, presenting it out to the local planning authorities, to our communities via a webinar, so they can kind of learn about the tool and how to use it, why it's important. We would then follow up by scheduling and holding listening sessions or meetings with each of our relevant communities so that we can encourage them to complete the self-assessment, provide any resources or assistance that they may need. If they need access to a land use planner, then Iman can be available to provide them some insight and assistance. Let's see, listening sessions. So of course, once that work wraps up, we'll be developing a summary report on Northwest Indiana communities and their coastal resiliency. Definitely looking at kind of doing sort of a needs assessment there and maybe a kind of a checklist or an action register. So we know kind of where we need to go and what might be needed and lacking. The project timeline, we are looking to likely depending on how things shake out with contracts, begin work in April, and the project will go through the end of the year through December 31st. And so with that, I will take a breath and let Iman or Joe, if you have anything that I've missed, chime in with that, or of course we can take questions.
Jen, that was a really good summary. The only thing I really would want to add to it is the primary lens that Coastal is interested in is the coastal hazards, and those being looking at flooding, Lake Michigan level changes, and shoreline erosion. So those are the primary elements, but yep, as Jen mentioned, we've got several checklists from surrounding Great Lakes states that we're going to be considering as we put the self-assessment together. But the listening sessions are going to be key elements as well to kind of find other information, tease information out to help guide the program over the next several years.
Does that area include the Lake Michigan coastal area, or is that specific to what it is?
Yep. Thank you, George. Yeah, it is specific to the Lake Michigan Coastal Program area, but for the most part, that does cover a majority of the municipalities within Lake Porter and LaPorte County.
And that would include Lake Louise down in Union Township.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep, and I would think, Joe, also that this tool, once developed, our focus and our listening sessions will be within the coastal zone, but hopefully the tool would be useful for other communities outside of the Lake Michigan Basin that might be interested in employing it.
That's accurate.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes. Are you going to be looking at the water supply and wastewater treatment issues with the communities along the lake that affect water quality?
So the water quality aspect might be interesting. I mean, some of the questions that I've seen, Kevin, on some of the other existing states have looked at infrastructure. And there is also the stormwater element. So we'll have a discussion with the working group on how much of that information to kind of bring into the equation. But great question. I know one of the questions that has also come up is in regards to things like landfills, hazardous materials, and things like that, with the potential for increased, vulnerability with lake level changes and storm patterns.
With the designation of a preferred route for the Willow Creek, it runs right past the Wheeler landfill and through some wetland areas. Is the forward thinking, and Kevin, please chime in too, as to how that may impact some of the issues going forward.
It wouldn't be anything project specific like that, George, just to be honest. But what we hope to get out of this is some planning resource tools. Indiana Coastal Program is in the process of developing a coastal atlas with basically an online resource mapping tool that shows like the locations of wetlands and wetland functions that might be impacted by a project such as that, but not specific to that project per se. And also to take a closer look at, if the communities are addressing coastal hazards within their comprehensive plans and their ordinances to help kind of prevent the issues before the issues pop up, if that makes sense.
George, one of the things
Yes, sir.
is, from what I understand, the preferred Willow Creek extension has been identified. They're still in the process of doing their environmental assessments. Those won't be done till the end of this year, or at least fall. There will be another public meeting on this. And also there's 3 phases to the Willow Creek project. So there's going to be a lot of consideration for all the issues they'll meet along the way. But at this time, it's, I would just say it's under consideration. That is Willow Creek routing as they've shown it. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
As you know, it's going to take years to accomplish this, and a lot of money.
Thank you, Kevin. I realize that. I just want to be sure that we have as many parties involved in understanding the potential going forward, because it's easier to take care of it before the cart than after the cart.
Well, the other thing, I guess Joe might be able to answer, is there a designated zone for this resiliency consideration, or is it everything in the coastal watershed or the Lake Michigan, Little Calumet watershed?
Yeah, good question, Kevin. So the project boundaries are basically the historic watershed, the Lake Michigan Coastal Program boundary within Lake Porter and the Port counties.
Well, and having said that, you know, the Lake Michigan Coastal Program is actually north of the boundary itself. So it doesn't include necessarily everything that's going into Lake Michigan. Is they're very restrictive about how those funds are being sent.
Correct. And the money, the funding for this project is coming from NOAA, our federal partner. So that is kind of one of the limitations for sure.
And having said that too, NGS has been working to define the boundaries of the watersheds throughout the state. So they're currently doing that.
Okay, thank you very much.
One last thing to add, just in terms of kind of the geography and the boundaries. So Joe, my understanding is that we'll be developing this tool for communities to use, and that in the scope, we will be doing listening sessions targeted toward, those LPAs, those communities that are within the coastal zone. That would also include, so, municipalities that are incorporated, the 30 some, I think there are of those, 20 or 30 some, but also the unincorporated counties as well. Right. So we should get a decent coverage there. There may be some areas that are, right along that divide that a community may be in or out completely, but we will be working with the counties as well.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Just one more comment. Because of the new census that's been alluded to, we really don't have a lot of the urbanization maps and those kind of things out. But our communities are going to be faced with MS4 this coming year, as opposed to past years where they were exempt. So this might help alleviate some of those issues with their water quality issue. And of course, the MS4 is the municipal separate storm sewer system. Corrections that all the communities need to make that are in the urbanized area. But there's going to be a few more added this time because of the census.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much, Jen, Joe, Kevin, and
oh, George, one last thing.
Certainly.
Anybody that wants information on the Willow Creek, It's www.willowcreekextension.com. Willow Creek Extension is just one word, but www.willowcreekextension.com. And Structure Point in the county has timelines and all sorts of information on. That's very good to keep up with what's happening there.
Yeah, it's transformative for the region because it'll make a significant difference and impact a number of land use and environmental issues throughout the process. And as Kevin said, it's going to take years, but we're a whole lot closer than we have been in the past. So we're moving in that direction, and we're already working on engineering. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but considering the engineering for phase 2 of the project.
As far as I know.
Okay, thank you. That was very interesting, at least from my point of view, and thank you very much for the report. Next item on the agenda, City of Gary e-commerce sub-area plan. Scott Weber, take it away.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So as Iman kind of alluded to earlier, we have an active request for proposals, RFP 22-05.02, which is for the City of Gary's e-commerce sub-area plan. It's actively out soliciting proposals, and those proposals will be due on March 3rd. So it's coming up next Thursday. That means there's only so much I can say about it, since it is still very much an active RFP where we're still soliciting proposals out for that. But as I alluded to earlier at past committees, that this will be a transformative project. It's going to be applying the regional-based e-commerce in Northwest Indiana plan that we came out with late in 2020 that actually won a National Association for Regional Councils Achievement Award last year in 2021. And it's taking that to a sub-area. And the very first sub-area that we'll be taking it to is a sub-area within the City of Gary. And specifically, the sub-area that is out for proposals is bounded by 25th Avenue in the north, Burr Street in the west, Grant Street in the east, and 29th Avenue in the south. So roughly on kind of the northern fringes of the Black Oak area, right along the Borman Expressway, between the Burr Street and the Grant Street interchanges. And there is one large site there, the Lake Sandy Joe site at 3615 West 25th Avenue, that is, a larger site that could potentially accommodate an e-commerce type of distribution center investment. So that's called out in the request for proposals for one of the contractors to look at examining the possibilities and the feasibilities of that site for accommodating a major e-commerce project. But in general, what this sub-area plan will focus on are 4 areas that we're asking for. We're asking for an existing conditions report, a market study, a conceptual area plan, and a final recommendation section. And this whole project is only $50,000, so it's a pretty limited amount. That's just from what we have available in our federal planning funds that we have to spend down. And we're asking for the City of Gary to formally commit to a $10,000 local match. We've been in discussions with them, and so we're hoping at their next redevelopment commission meeting that we'll be able to hear more about that. But this is an exciting project, and the request for proposals is still on NERC's website. And again, it is due next Thursday, March 3rd. If you'd like, I can show you exactly how to get to it on our website, but I'd also just want to mention that if you are a firm or if you know anybody who is at a design, planning, or market study type of firm that would be able to complete such a project, please by all means get the word out there and consider submitting a proposal. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any comments or questions for Scott? Okay, thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate it very much. Next on the agenda, Ibrahim for a legislative update.
Yeah, let me try to share here. Okay, can everyone see the?
Yes.
Make it bigger. Okay, as we in every land use committee, we try here to give an update of about the current bill, Senate bill or House bill happening that like could be related to land use. And here today, I'm just presenting three bills. The first one here is a Senate bill 90, which is about right-of-way and thoroughfares. And so they initiated that on January 4th. There is no action yet. It's still in discussion. And this bill is specifically, it's about any right-of-way that the county would like to get on a highway or in a county road. Sometimes they require a dedication or additional right-of-way as part of the subdivision plan. And now in this bill, they prohibit that. And instead, they should require the county to acquire additional right-of-way through eminent domain. So they cannot include it within the subdivision plat, and they have to have it as eminent domain. They also require the local government units to acquire private property to establish or expand the thoroughfares through eminent domain. The third point here is to prohibit a county and local government unit from imposing an additional fee on applicant that they are filing for a subdivision plats. Instead, the county or unit of local government, again, they should proceed with eminent domain. So I think this is like more to protect the applicant that they are applying for a subdivision plats, is if they really have the county need the right of way of the road, they should request it from them, not just add it to the subdivision plat. The second bill here is a Senate bill, Bill 29, and that's again eminent domain. And this one was passed by the Senate on the January 24th, and they refer it to the House on January 26th, and now they refer it to local government this month on February 7th. And this one is specifically they increase the compensation paid in the case of condemnations taking a fee simple interest, and they increase, they said it's at least should be 120% of the property's fair market value. So this is like about to close, and this month, I think, and it's maybe we are waiting for the House vote on that. The next one is Senate Bill number 176, and that's for agricultural land used for wind or solar energy. And they require the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, the IURC, to include in their annual report to the governor to have specific information concerning the utility grade wind power devices and solar energy facilities for each county. So they are requesting 4 things to be in the report, and that's a total number of devices and facilities installed or under construction. They also wanted the total generating capacity of the devices and facilities of solar energy, both wind and solar. They also wanted the county's total land acreage is occupied by otherwise part of a project or development that includes more wind devices or solar facilities. And the last one is a percentage of that acreage assessed as agricultural land for property taxes purposes of the occupied acreage. So that's, and in this bill, they already passed it by the Senate this month, February 1st, and they refer it to the House in the next day, and the House still has to vote on this bill. So these are the current bills that like may impact local governments, and I just wanted to share it with you.
Iman?
Yes.
Hi, I wanted to add a couple of other developments that were happening at the State House. Senate Bill 369 in Indianapolis. It was focused on the bus lanes for the red line, and it was pretty specific to the red line. However, we've been monitoring it because, you know, we've got projects up here in GPTC service area that could be impacted by the creation of a precedent. Fortunately, however, Senate Bill 369 was basically died in committee because it would have forbidden any bypass lanes in Indy outside of a mile radius of downtown. It reared its head in zombie form on Monday or Tuesday as an amendment to a totally unrelated bill. Transit Drives Indy, which is an advocacy organization down there that helped push their funding initiative a few years ago. They organized a pretty significant response, and the Ways and Means Committee actually struck down that amendment request, which would have done the same thing, basically forbidding Indigo from creating bypass lanes for their future bus rapid transit. We're going to be doing a study for BRT or rapid bus on a second corridor here in our service area. What we did not want was the creation of a precedent in Indianapolis that could be used in other locales. So we've been monitoring that. And fortunately, however, like I said, the amendment that would have done the same thing as Senate Bill 369 was shut down. I want to say, like I said, a couple of days ago by Transit Drives Indy, Indigo, and some of their proponents.
Okay, thank you, David.
No problem.
For adding
We'll put
that.
in there, yeah.
Okay, and I think that's conclude my presentation of the current bills.
Okay, thank you. Communities update. This is for everyone. Anyone would like to make any comments or?
Well, George, I just wanted to mention that the Broadway Lofts in downtown Gary, that mixed-use development at 6th and Broadway is proceeding, actually 7th, is proceeding, and they are working with us and Health by Design out of Indianapolis on not just providing discounted bus passes to their residents, but on working on a bike share program that's going to be kind of housed and led by that developer. We're hoping to have that online in June of this year or so. We are getting funding from the Legacy Foundation via the Donor Advised Fund from the Knight Foundation. And in addition to creating that bike share program, which was the brainchild of that developer, we are also looking at installing kiosks for basically mobility hubs, which will allow people to pick and choose different transportation options at locations throughout our service area. That's something that the Legacy Foundation is also providing money to pay for. So we're not the experts in the bike share arena. So Health by Design out of Indianapolis, they're partnering with us to do the planning for that. And they're also going to be identifying with us where to put these mobility hubs at. Mobility hubs are something that don't exist in Indiana right now. And to be given the ability to fund and create them and install them here in Northwest Indiana, I think is a big win for us, as well as working with a developer on creating a bike share program. So I'll be keeping, NERC obviously is a stakeholder in this project, so we'll be keeping them in the loop as this progresses. It just started. We had a kickoff meeting with the city last week, but our goal is to have the bike share program in place this summer as the development proceeds and opens. And the developer is actually putting money into this bike share program. So that's how committed they are to this.
Thank you. For the new people on the committee, what we're doing for the communities update, if you have anything happening within your communities and you would like to share it with us, that's what we do under this agenda item.
Are there any other communities that like to share any updates or information?
I'm not really a community, George. However, last night at Porter County Council, the Porter County Council on Aging with Bruce Linder made a presentation about workforce. They have a shortage of drivers right now. It kind of made me acutely aware of how we do planning, but we also have to be considerate of the workforce available to fulfill the requirements of our grants and our planning. So this was kind of a heads up for me anyway, and made me aware of how important it was to accomplish our programs to make sure we've got the workforce to support them. Thank you.
I might say that Bruce Linder and his group do a major service for helping out in the rural communities where we have no transportation, such as David provides for his that community. And at some point, and I talked to David about this before, that I may never see it, but perhaps someday there'll be a regional bus opportunity through 130 and 30 and throughout the area.
And that's part of the mission of NERC, I think, is to help the underserved and the paratransit community, lest we forget, but it's a pretty hefty tax to put onto our agencies and our staff. So
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Kevin. Appreciate it very much.
And Kevin, this is, yeah, we should maybe change that in the agenda. It's a local governments update. It's not just communities. It could be counties, township, and anyone can report under that.
well, I just want to make it clear, I'm speaking for me, not for any government entity. Speaking for the
Okay.
county surveyor. We're a small universe.
Well, the townships rely on the people that support us with the county. So Kevin is a very important factor in the township's existence and the direction where we're going.
Kind of you to say, but you guys are doing fine.
I'm only saying it because it's true. Okay, is there any other community updates? Hearing none, the last chance. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 25th, 2022 at 10 o'clock a.m. There are no further comments or questions. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for attending. God bless you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, George.